at 8:32 a.m. at this time. Thank you for the minutes. I do appreciate it. So our first order of business, as right and proper, is public forum. Is there anybody here today to address the commission in a public forum setting? You're welcome to. Yes, sir. Go ahead. If you would stand up so we can all hear, because we're competing with the air conditioning apparently this morning. And if you identify yourself for the record, and of course, our rules of decorum is we respect you. Please show respect to the commission. What do you got this morning?
Okay, so actually, we're going to talk about the primary election primarily, is what we're meeting about.
No, sir. We are meeting about you're welcome to talk about the primary election, but our agenda today has minutes from March 4th, which then action, elections administrator report, action and discussion action on party chair report, discussion action on May 4th election, and then our adjournment. So go ahead.
Of course, I missed the meeting. Okay, well, I have some comments on the primary.
Yes, sir.
Election workers were not often very much training. Of course, it's hard to get election workers to attend training, but there's specifically mandated Secretary of State training that could be offered that's more than what we receive. And then on election day or at elections, the workers do not have a copy of the handbook of how to qualify voters and how to address domestic issues. That's something we might want to provide for our election workers. Did I identify myself yet?
No, but I figured you're going to get around to it.
Larry Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. We know and love you, but the rest of the world has to know.
Election workers, we normally have name tags for election workers, but they were not provided name tags.
Is that for just like the elections administration people or all election workers, like your clerks, your
By
judges?
state law, everybody that's in the polling place has to be identified.
Okay.
Poll watcher.
Poll watcher has to. Okay.
And then the clerks, the judge, and all the officials have
Okay.
the name that tells what their title, who they are, what their title is. The ballot printer on precinct 1 was almost out of ink on that day, and some ballots were printed that were too black for the reader to read them. So the voters they had to go and do another ballot. It's a long ballot, and some of the voters left. They didn't have time to do another ballot, so they disenfranchised. So be good for printing machines to have fresh ink in them when they're used on election days. The physical office of the elections department is not identified outside the building or inside the building where it's located.
Well, that's on me, and we've changed that since now. We've got signs. We just renovated that building and not finished with that project actually. So that's actually the county's fault on that one. We'll take ownership of it.
Okay. All right. And then I've had an incident where when I go to vote, they try to tell me too much information.
How so?
The election code says, if you have any questions, ask about it. So this is how you vote. You need to circle all the ovals in, and then you can go over here and go and have you ever voted before? And so they'll go on and talk for 10 or 20 seconds for unsolicited information. You ever had that happen to you?
No, sir, I haven't. No, has happened to you?
Yeah.
People don't usually approach me, I guess.
I went on early voting for the primary at precinct 1, and the worker there just went on and on for over a minute. Two-page ballot. If you would go to the other party, you just have 1 page, but you got 2 pages. Make sure you fill out all of the stuff.
Think she's trying to be helpful or trying to sway your vote?
Be helpful, I guess.
Okay, good.
But it wasn't helpful because I didn't ask for it. The election code says, on request of a voter, an election officer shall instruct the voter in proper procedures for casting a ballot. So there's a lot more information that's offered by some people when it's not necessary.
Well, Republican Party, they appoint those, the Democratic Party appoints those chairs, and conversations we'll definitely have with those people.
Well, and I understand this was a Democrat worker, and so maybe they're trained differently. I don't know, but
Could be, maybe not trained.
there's no reason why I would be in favor of having separate primaries instead of having joint primaries. So that's my other comment.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else for open forum today? Yes, ma'am. Could you come up and identify yourself for the record, please? Over here, close to the microphone. It's just a courtesy to the folks that are online so they can hear what we're saying.
Okay, my name's Leslie Thomas. I'm from Blum, and I worked in early voting during the primary. So that's the reason why I'm here.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm the State Republican Executive Committee woman for SD 22 for this area. I'm also an attorney, and I represent, I'm a Republican National Law Association election integrity attorney. So I've done a little bit of this. While I was working in early voting, I didn't see any malfeasance,
Okay.
but I did see a lot of sloppiness, and I did see a lot of negligence. which is not a problem.
Well, it is for us. If we
Wait,
know about it, we need to fix it.
yeah, it's not a problem because you're a small county, people know each other. You can be kind of loose. So I'm just encouraging you, it's always the best policy to run a tight ship.
Correct.
Because right now, I'm not saying there was any, wrongdoing with forethought.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like the printer being out of ink.
Mhm.
One of the issues was that, in early voting, the election judge is the election administrator. That's the election judge.
There's an election judge at the location.
There's an actual election judge.
They are not legally the election judge. The EA is the election judge. They kind of have that title, but not one of them is in control. So that's what we had at our polling place. Not one of them had control, and there was conflict because you're running a Republican primary with a Democratic primary, and you had a Democratic judge commenting for over a minute on the Republican ballot,
No, that shouldn't.
giving personal opinion about the Republican ballot. And when she was confronted by someone who knows the code very well, she replied, I'm the Democratic judge. I can do and say what I want.
Ooh.
Probably verbatim what she said. I witnessed this.
No, she's limited. to what she can do.
So what I'm saying is that as a Republican, I was offended by her comments about my ballot and about the comments about the people in Austin who came up with that ballot in the ballots in the past. And I was one of those persons who came up with that ballot, with that language. So I took offense to that, not for me personally, but for my party. So I think it's a very good practice that the Republicans and the Democrats are separate. The reason why is because when you come, the primary should be a fun thing. It should be a party thing. So in the past, they were separate. And as a judge, I would go in and I would make it a party. Everything's in red, bunting, wearing elephants, GOP. Well, now we can't do that because we're together and we can't show partisanship. So that's another thing I would encourage y'all to do is to keep them separate because that's kind of a fun thing. That's kind of when you meet the people in your area that votes a party the way you do, and you can make it a fun thing. General election, you can't do that. So you're just getting rid of one of those little community things that you get to do once every 2 years. There's some other things, but Larry covered them. My husband is the election judge, a regular election judge, and he had some issues, but but I'll let him speak for himself. He can't be here because he's in work. But his issues are mainly ballot integrity, watching the ballots after election, having the school district having to watch them because there's no place in Hillsborough to open up to guard those ballots. And he was told just leave them. And he said, I'm not leaving.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Somebody
yeah.
told him bad information.
Yes.
So
Yes. And he knows that, but he didn't do that.
Thank goodness.
He continued on and he got the school superintendent to provide a locked area that he could keep those ballots in over the weekend.
As they should.
So, yeah. So what I'm saying is that run a tight ship and do best practices because you never know what's going to happen.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'm not saying anything malfeasant happened. Except for that one, but y'all have no control of that, right? So anyway, love Hill County. Thank y'all for what you do.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Anybody else in the room for open forum? If not, I'm going to go to the online. Yes, ma'am. Come on up. Thank you so much for acquiescing to our request. That way everybody can hear what we're saying.
I'll be real quick.
And I know we already know each other, but for the record, if you could pretty please tell everybody else who you
Oh,
are.
yes, sir. Kim Holly, resident of Hill County for quite a while, since at least 82. The thing I wanted to mention real quick, because I know we have a lot of things to speak about, is I don't recall the year, but it was back when Mr. Obama was running for president. And we had a machine with a screen. And when I would push for my person, it kept going back to Mr. Obama. And I did that probably 3 times. And I was like, what's going on? And it would slide back to Obama or however it, I just wanted to bring that up because that's an issue, that's a problem.
Yeah, we got rid of those machines, by the way. Those-
That was just a calibration issue. As long as you would let us know, we could have recalibrated and you could have voted just as you wanted.
Okay, so that's okay. But anyway. go ahead,
Okay,
go ahead.
another thing is, I was one of the people in, the 2020 election. I volunteered and got trained and, I really I didn't feel really good about the training. You know, I'm not trying to criticize, but I
No,
felt
we need to hear
inadequate.
these things. It's
I
not,
felt inadequate. And while I was there, you know, I noticed that all the machines had like made in China on them. And so, you know, I kind of, you know, looked around to somebody else and said, you know, and then, so I decided to go in and get more training. So I came into the, wherever it was, you know, I can tell you where it is, but I don't recall the street exactly. I think maybe Franklin, and there was a pull-through place where you voted and such as that.
oh, yeah.
But I also went inside and told the election people there that were checking people in, you know, that I was gonna be working on election day, and they said, well, just sit over here behind us and, you know, you can observe. So I did that, but there were at least, like, I don't wanna lie, I only wanna say something that's true, but there were at least 2 people in an hour that when they came in and checked in, they were said, oh, the people would say, oh, you've already voted. And the people would, I could see their faces and they were like, you know, it was like an honest response. You know, they were puzzled. And, anyway, there's more I could say, but, I'm gonna leave it at that for right now.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Hall. Appreciate that. Any students in the room? Going once? Come on.
Attention, but my name is Marion Phillips. I'm in Whitney,
Just a minute.
and I have been an election judge in the past. And especially in the primary, when Miss Leslie mentioned having separate locations for the 2 parties, I would like to advocate for that in particular. The reason is, in one of the elections that I worked, the primary, the other judge that was in the same location was actually asked by the location where we were holding the election to be down in a different part. It was one big open area, but he was asking for the 2 polling, the Republican primary to be at one end and the Democrat at
Okay.
the other end. Okay. And when we got there that morning to set up, the Democrat moved all their equipment within closer than 10 feet to ours. And after talking to the gentleman for a while about, you know, I'm going to have a whole lot of people in mind and you're not going to have as many. And you have put your booths where people vote right where my people are going to have to walk through it all day. My clerks were having to access the bathroom in the kitchen, and my voters, we had so many that they were in that area. At the end of the day, it was an extremely busy election, extremely busy. I was busy all day long with provisionals and little things, and most of my polling location was kind of in a contained area, but the sign-in where people walked in was right by the door, which made it convenient and helped with the flow of the voters. Well, when he moved his check-in location and his machines right there by the door, it caused a problem for my people coming in all day. But I didn't find out until the end of the day because I stayed down in my end dealing with problems. At the end of the day, my clerk said, well, you know what was happening. And I'm like, tell me, I thought I had a handle on what was happening all day. And they said, well, the Democrat judge, when his people would come in to sign in, he would say, do not vote on our ballot. Please go right there and sign in the Republican and vote on that ballot. I could not believe that my clerks did not tell me
until we were closing what had happened all day. But that was not the only problem. He also had conflict with me during the day several times, and he wound up almost trying to strike me. I mean, he reared his handbag like this. Yeah. So a divided location, it used to be the law in Texas
It is
that
not.
we had, it isn't anymore. But I would say, I would like for you all to know that this is a problem, to have the two parties. I mean, sometimes it can be run very smoothly, no problems. But there are situations where you're setting people up for discord. And especially in the county, I don't want to have any conflict with the other party. Everybody's entitled to their own belief, but that's actually electioneering. And if I had known about it earlier, I would have called the people that could have done something about it. I just didn't find out about it until the election was over. So I realize that's an old thing, but I am advocating for separated locations for the primaries.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Phillips. Who do we have online this morning that wishes to address the commission in open forum? If you would, just unmute yourself and I'm gonna give you about a minute or two here to. Okay, well, yes, no.
I'm not sure if it's open forum, but I did want to discuss our reimbursements for the machines.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't know if that's an election commission question.
It definitely election commission question. So what we're gonna,
Who we're supposed to get it reimbursed, and it might be pertaining to more than just the May 4th election.
okay,
But if I'm allowed to discuss that at that time. Or should I discuss it?
I believe we should discuss it at that point. So let's go through our agenda real quick. We have the minutes of the last meeting. I have a couple copies. Everybody has copies, you just give them copies to me. Oh, my goodness, you only brought 4 or 5 copies. I'll be darned. Okay, so that is a date, typographical error on the
Yeah.
date, so.
Y'all need this, I don't need it. Mr.
So-
Phillips or-
Typographical error on that. So what we have is, all right, before us, we have the minutes of the election meeting. What is the correct date for that
It
day?
is.
March 2024, that's what I thought was going to be confirmed.
It's a foreign money.
Okay, and
Are you saying that we need to change the date up here?
we're going to have to, yes, ma'am, we have a problem with the date. The date is incorrect. It was a typographical error that was not caught. It should be March the 4th, 2024. At 4 p.m., just like it says in the call to order section of it. Unfortunately, we will make mistakes, typographical errors. When we do, we must admit them, correct them, and move forward. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? With the amendment of, I'm sorry, I'm talking over people. I feel bad. So are you seconding that? Was that a second from you?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes with the amendment of changing the date, which is incorrect on the top of the floor, is from September 30th, 2020 to March 4th, 2024, as was when the actual meeting was held. That being said, any other additions, deletions, or corrections to these minutes?
At the time of.
Yes, ma'am, 4 o'clock. Yeah, it's properly listed here under call to order. So if hearing no more discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstentions, motion will carry with unanimously with the members of the commission present. Moving along today, discussing our action on election administrator report. Aaron, what's going on?
Most of the traffic, schools, we had 10 schools overall having elections in the fourth, 6 ISDs and 4 cities. Willa, Bynum, along with Hubbard, and now the Whitney ISD, along with Hillsborough, Hubbard, and now along with Whitney City.
Please.
Oh, speak up.
Speak up, please.
I'm gonna try to do something and turn this off real quick and see if that helps. Give it just a second to respond. Go ahead, talk a little louder, it's hard to hear down here.
All right, we had 10 entities that had elections on May 4th, 6 ISDs, 4 cities. We had Aquila, Bynum, Malone, Hubbard, Penelope, and Whitney ISDs. Along with Hillsborough, Hubbard, Mount Calm, and Whitney C, all had elections. May 4th, we provided them equipment to conduct their elections. They hired their own workers, and we provided support for them throughout early vote and election day. We had some issues where some of the equipment malfunctioned, we had to replace it. But other than that, nothing really out of the ordinary with the equipment, with any contamination. All the cities and schools were happy with everything. We provided them already with their canvassing documents, which I'm waiting to hear back from them to go ahead and make everything official as far as the reports are concerned.
What's their deadline to canvass? I know we have between 7 and 11 days in the county when we do it. Primaries, parties have 7 to 11. Is it kind of the same?
Yeah, it's usually about the same time frame. I believe. Let's see.
Today is the 15th.
I know the majority of them said they were trying to do it today.
Okay.
So, other than that, the equipment that we had malfunctioned has already been tagged. It will be processed and sent back to the vendor for maintenance. And really, that's about it. We'll be getting the contract back from them as far as the rental is concerned for the city to be able to process reimbursements. Other than that, it's quieted down now. We're just gonna get back to basics and kind of sorting out if you think it's from the primary to part of the system. It's really about it.
Okay. Ms. Swilling, I think this is the perfect time to ask you questions, election administrator.
Okay, well, we have.
And for everybody that doesn't know, this is Ms. Susan Swilling, Hill County's auditor. Sorry, go ahead. Ms. Swilling.
Yes. The election, office, we have, I guess, 3 budgets. We have an election machine lease fund that we're supposed to get our rentals and then pay maintenance out for those items. And then there's an election contract fund, which is he's allowed to charge these entities a fee, 15% or 5%, whatever it is. But I just, you know, from the county's point of view, our maintenance last year that was just paid through Aaron's general fund department was $45,000. And our rentals, of course, we're not getting reimbursed anywhere near that amount. And if that's in a monthly amount, I just want to be sure we're getting the machine lease money from those that we need. Now, for this year, we received some money in October from Grandview. I don't know who the Grandview elected, the November election.
Yeah, Grandview slightly comes over, their school district slightly comes into Hill County.
But that's all the money we received for election rentals this year, and then last year.
Did we receive any reimbursement from the parties yet?
That's your state and I know the state. I'm not sure how that.
Well, I dropped off a check from the Republican, but that was for the election workers. I
Yeah.
dropped that off a few weeks ago for Will, but I don't know where that was deposited. I guess I have to investigate that. So
Yeah, I think so. Who did you drop it off with?
our rentals from the prior year, we
Uh-huh.
had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had Hubbard, Aquila, Whitney, Blum, ISD, and Blum City. But these contracts aren't going through the court, so it's hard for us. We need a process to know, like when he sends in the invoice to copy the treasurer and the auditor. So one, when those monies come in, we can be sure they get to the right
I think
place.
that's a great idea.
So it looks like they had. And then we had one outstanding from May 22, unless it got to the wrong place, we never got Mount Tom's machine rental. But the rentals for 2023 were $6,200.
That's not even coming close to covering what our costs on those things are. That's ridiculous.
So the county is paying those funds.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to get them. So it's just something that needs to be brought to your attention and figured out what we need to do. And do we need all the, I don't know what all the software is that could have been a one-time charge. I've been out of things for a little while, so I'm sure.
Well, thankfully, we have not had to buy anything new from federal mandate here lately, but so it's the same machines we've had for a good amount of time since you were auditor last time. So the software on those things is ridiculous because the state of Texas only allows 2 different providers to do so. And knowing that they charge us an exorbitant amount of money. It's highway robbery is what it is. But I digress. What I'm trying to get at is what do we need to we need to go through this and figure out what do we need to set our reimbursement at on those machines. And figure out what's going on in other counties as well. What's the cost? Since we're legally required to have the things. I thought
We're charging better for building and renting.
yeah.
But I mean, even so, that would depend on how many of them actually even have elections.
No doubt. I mean, I'm not, there's a lot that goes into it. I get that. It's not simple. Hey, this is the amount we need. It's who's going to hold election this year versus who doesn't. And don't get me wrong, I understand that the state uses the county as a credit card and we're expected to cover all these costs of taxpayer money when they won't fund anything for it. That being said, yeah, it's on the elections commission to look at it and see if we can't get any more of that money coming back in.
And some of the things might be going to the wrong place, we just need good communication to make sure that they
We need much better communication.
get funneled to the right place.
Yeah.
And the election contract fund, there hasn't been any revenue, posted to that. Those are funds that can be used at the, I believe, election administrator's discretion, but, we're just not.
It's pretty much on the upkeep of equipment is what he just said, I believe.
The contract fund, it's not, it's for expenses of his office, but there's been no revenue and there's been no expense, so it's just. But there is money in the fund.
Well, what we might do at our next regular meeting of the commission is to put a workshop in to see if we can't look at that subject and figure out where we're at and if it's sufficient. If not, what processes do we need to put in place before November?
Do
Yes,
we
ma'am.
know if there is a state limit that we can charge for rental fees on the machines?
I hate to speak up. I think there is a limit, but I don't know what it is off the top of
Do
my
I need
head.
research?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It'd be good to have a breakdown of.
It's fund 265 is the, it's budgeted in our budget, it's the election.
Election fund, I forget what the exact name of it is.
Election machine rental. I can't remember page. There's supposed to be a yellow one. Here we go. Election machine lease fund. It's fund 265. And there are funds in there. That we just.
Yes, ma'am. Workshop. Next meeting, we probably ought to have a workshop or at least a discussion item where we can go through it and just make sure that our policy, our procedures on how we're doing things. There's simple corrections we'll make now. Obviously, anytime we sign a lease going forward. Again, the commissioner's court doesn't have authority over that specifically given to the election administrator under the code, but the auditor makes a good point. It's simply adding 2 or 3 more names onto an email and letting everybody know. So it's easier to keep up with, less work for you actually in the long run. Have more help. So definitely include the auditor and the treasurer on those in the future. If you want to include me, you're welcome to as well. It's just a matter of tracking things. You include Christie. I make a motion to include Christie on everything. Okay.
I can get a list from Aaron, so. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I greatly appreciate it. Anything else for the elections administrator report today? Okay, good deal. And we have nothing obviously for the May 28th, so we don't have anything going on at the moment towards that election. We don't have the runoffs here. So we're good on that. And then our next election we're gearing up for is going to be the general in November. Okay, good deal. One last thing, election administrator report. I'll get back to you just a second. So 2 last things. Number one, I think everybody here is aware, maybe Dutton's not, we applied for a grant with under state of Texas rules. Under election integrity grant, what we're trying to do is replace the sign-in stuff. The sign-in stuff we think is nearing end of life. It needs to be replaced, frankly. Well, we had the rules of the local hot cog, and we would have won it under the rules that we're supposed to fly by. But the governor's office at the last minute jerked it up to the state level, and then they denied us. So unfortunately, that grant is not going to be approved. So we're going to have to take some action to find a new voters check-in software and then recommend it to the court. And so the court, commissioners court can appropriately budget for it during this budget time, and it ain't gonna be cheap. So yeah, go ahead, Ms. Sloan.
Oh, the other thing which I didn't print out was, Chapter 19 fund.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if any of those are available. They give us so much every year and we can use those, but we have like 3 years worth of spending and they drop off every August, so I don't know what's available, but at our next meeting, we need to address the Chapter 19 funds.
Okay,
So
I think that's very
it
good.
might be able to be used, this software that
Oh.
you need.
That's a great idea. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is the chapter 19 funds, are those listed on Encode to where we can actually see what's available in that?
It's through the state.
Yeah, it's state.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for elections administrator report?
Yes.
Hearing none, we have no party chairs here today. So we're gonna move on to discuss and or action is what that should have been. But there is no action I know of on May 4th, 2024 election. That was what I call the city and schools elections in my inartful way of speaking. How'd things go?
Everything went as far as I could tell. Well, like I said, we only had the incidences where some of the equipment actually failed to do what it was supposed to. They notified us, we replaced it, and they rocked on, no problem.
Okay.
I said we've already gotten them all of their canvassing materials. We're just waiting to hear back from them to actually make their totals official instead of unofficial.
Oh, good deal, good deal. Will we get sampled by state on those as well, or?
We didn't actually conduct their election. Technically, they should.
Okay, so they would go back to them to do it. Okay, got it, got it. And we've heard from some entities that want to start moving towards the
Yes,
communism.
there were a handful of them that are contemplating moving their elections in November.
It just costs us so much money when they have multiple dates.
No, it has to be November. for it to be- Yeah, it really would.
But that's their choice, not ours. We're not forcing anybody to do anything, so. We do recommend, saves everybody money when we work together, so, okay. I understand we had one of the heart machines had an issue. Have we sent, we're sending it back to get
Yes.
taken care of?
It's already been tagged, which I gathered the information off the rest of them. The guys are gonna be going through and pulling all the drives, seeing if there's any other issues with any of the others.
Okay,
Once they get through those, we'll box them all up and send them back to Austin.
okay, good deal. And the Votex software this time, do we have any malfunction, the check-in, voter check?
Check-ins weren't used for the schools.
Oh, but schools chose
Yeah,
not to
they
use.
just, no, we just give them a list. It doesn't process them the way we would like to. So when the voter walks up to the kiosk, it would make it to where it's got all of them, the elections, they would have to pick which one they're trying to pick.
Oh, we'll let you set it up on, okay,
So that's why it's good to run it under ours in November, because it's all one general blanket. And there's no separate election, it's all whatever you're coded for is what you get.
okay. And then,
Could y'all speak up, please?
yes, ma'am, we're sorry, we tried to turn that fan off and it hasn't, so I apologize. You want to come down here closer, you're welcome to, ma'am, if that help you hear. Yeah.
She said she.
No, I hear over there as well. You guys are welcome to scoot up closer for sure. Everybody's talking above a normal voice at this point, so we'll try to do better. So anyway, I guess the next question I've got is, well, actually not under this agenda. So what I want to do, as we've talked about this, is on our next regular meeting, I want to have a workshop to deal with our any financial things that we may need to do so before budget time here in the county. Just get a head start with look at it, make recommendations to the commissioners for what needs to happen. The other thing is, I would like to see us, if we could, find some vendors come in to talk about the voter check-in software, knowing that what we've got is end of life and we need to start being proactive to replace it with something that's a secure product that the state, obviously will allow us to do, and get the bids on that now so that we're not behind the 8 ball at a later date.
Okay.
So that's the big things that I see. Anything from other members of the commission? Nothing? All right, well, that's what we've got here then. There's nothing else on our agenda that we can legally talk about at this time. So that being said, yeah, before we close, yes, sir, get to you. Go ahead, Mr. Phillips.
The word people that were signing, seeing on Facebook this morning, I think that.
Well, no, the IT person's not the problem. We made an offer to them to speak and they could unmute their microphone and speak and no one chose to do that, Mr. Phillips. we made that offer on a recording here. So we record these things for prosperity, obviously. And nobody chose to take us up on that. So we offered this because we want people to participate, and we know how difficult it is to get down here sometimes during the morning hours. Unfortunately, that's when all the county employees are here. So we want people to participate in this, but we set rules as the people can participate. We're hoping that in the future, we'll have more people participate online like we used to. Yeah,
So it doesn't show everybody that's signed in.
that's if they choose to turn their camera on. So those are the only people that are signed in there. Those are the only people signed in. Miss Wendy?
It's Melissa.
Hi, Melissa. I'm sorry. I called the wrong
That's
name. Is there anybody else in waiting rooms waiting to get in?
No, sir.
Thank you very much for that confirmation. So they have instructions from us that all parties are allowed. It's a public meeting, so we want to make sure everybody gets in.
All right.
So, all right, thank you very much. In which case, at this time, having no further agenda items to take action or discuss, do I have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion from the tax assessor collector, and there's a second from the county clerk. I will call the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstentions, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you all for your time today. Appreciate you guys being here. All right, I gotta go run court.
Today's the last day